Couplepreneurs, navigating the entrepreneurial world together. This is episode 202. I was about to say 102, but in essence, it's 202. Thank you for being here. I'll be talking with my wife. We will be doing this show together. Let's go. Hello there, folks. Welcome to episode 202. Hi, Steph.
Hello, Pat.
How are you? This is our first time that we're going to venture out and do something a little bit different as we normally do as entrepreneurs. Welcome to 202. How are things going on your side?
It's going well. Thanks for having me again on the 30. I'm excited to be here.
You are welcome. We're going to do something a little bit different, something that we wanted to do a long time ago, but we never got an opportunity to, because we've always talked about talking to our viewers, whether it's on your show or my show, and giving them some of the background from an entrepreneurship standpoint, talking about how we got where we are, working together as a couple in life as well as in business, and basically talking about some of our journey, some of our ups and downs, some of our challenges, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's talk, let's chat, right? This is not your typical interview that I would do on the 30, but we're just going to have a discussion with Steph and I, and we welcome you. Welcome you. If you have any questions or comments, make sure that you drop them in the chat. If you have anything that you would like to ask us, because we're here for you for the next 25 minutes or so, and we just want to thank you. So, Steph, give our viewers, our listeners, tell them a little bit about your business. I'll talk about my business, and then we can go from there.
All right. Well, I am the owner of Stephanie Jackman PLLC. That is a behavioral health firm in Rochester, New York. We are a group private practice where we have 5 therapists on our team. And by trade, I am a mental health therapist. I have been practicing for 21 years, and I am also a mental health consultant. And what that is basically we have contracts that we help non-for-profits, government organizations, it could be correctional facilities, group homes, help them with developing and implementing mental health programs. So we have some contracts for that in New York State as well. So we have been in business now, believe it or not, for 14 years, and it has been a blessing. So I'm very thankful for it.
Wow. And I think I've been there because this year would be our 14th anniversary as husband and wife. So I've been there from the beginning. And you're also there from the beginning when I launched the Jackman Group. So the Jackman Group LLC, which is the producers of the 30, we are a training and development firm where we focus primarily on developing leaders and enhancing teams, as well as working with organizations from a strategic planning standpoint. So you were there from the get-go, right? So let's talk about our journey together. First, let's set the stage. So we're not coming to you from a space where we are partners together in business. We're coming to you from where we have individual businesses which overlap a lot. So I don't know therapy, right? And you know something about learning and development field. I call myself a TIT, or you call me that, but I don't have the license to be a therapist. And you love to be on the platform and teaching, but it is not your specialty. That's more of my specialty from a learning and development field. Would you say that's right?
I would agree. I would definitely agree. So are you going to tell the viewers what a TIT is?
Yeah, a TIT is basically, I think, a therapist in training, right?
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
But I have no idea about therapy. From a ministry standpoint, yes, I counsel and I teach, but when it comes to therapy, that is in your wheelhouse, and it's certainly not mine. But I play a role of the therapist from time to time, but I'm not a real therapist.
Yes, you are a TIT. You're a therapist in training. You've came a long way.
Well, thank you, thank you. So we cross paths because I do a lot of coaching, as you know, whether it's coaching leaders, which is different from training, and we talk about that. But so we cross paths because coaching is similar to therapy, but it's not therapy, and therapy is similar to coaching, but it's not coaching. Did you say that's right?
Correct. I agree.
All right.
I agree.
So, what made you get into business? And we can go back and forth. You're 14 years in now. And I am, wow, I think I'm about 14 years in too, right? Because,
You will be January 25th,
yeah, because we
2025.
got married on July 31st,
Yep.
2010. And I started a business in December of 2010, but we launched in January of 2011. So this
Yes.
is 13 years. January 2025 would be, is that 14 years?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yep. Yep.
So what is the origin of you going in business? Did you have a business background, an entrepreneurial background?
So a couple of things, Pat, and we've talked about this. Hi, Erica. We've talked about this. Um, so a couple of things. Early 2000s, I did a lot of time and professional experience in the children and family services aspect, child welfare. And what I found is dealing with youth and families that children needed therapy in Western New York and Rochester, Monroe County. They needed therapy. And I did a lot of work with children in foster care and adoption. And what I found in interacting with the children's therapists is that a lot of them were not therapists of color, but yet the children that they were serving were therapists and families of color. That was the first thing that sparked me in terms of wanting to venture out and um, become a therapist in practice. Oddly enough, I never thought about having a group practice. It was just going to be an individual practice for myself. I do have a background. Both of my parents uh, did some dancing with entrepreneurship. My mom and her siblings had a local dress shop some years ago, a women's apparel shop some years ago in the Rochester area. And then my father, by trade, was a mortician. So he had several funeral homes, and he also owned several liquor stores, believe it or not. So the joke often was that he would he would sell the individuals alcohol, and then he would bury them as well. So I do have a little background in terms of entrepreneurship from both sides of my family.
All right. And for me, I look at it from, yeah, my both of my grandfathers were coming from the island of Barbados, where growing up, right, you either either going to tourism or civil service, working for the or police force, or you back then entrepreneurs. So one of my grandfather on my dad's side was a carpenter, and my grandfather on my mom's side was a mason. So he was an entrepreneur on my dad's side. On my mom's side, he made his own bricks. So entrepreneurs, but I didn't know it. But when I was about 15, 16, I said, hey, I want to get into this entrepreneurship, knowing nothing about it, right? Knowing nothing about owning a business. But that was my desire, to really put up my own shingles, as you call it, and go from that point on. But my first entry into that, I was working. I think I was going to no, I was going to school, and I said, I looked at the landscape, and back then we had the big trunks. Remember the big trunks from college,
Yeah.
where people, right, would get them. And I lived in New York City, but came up to school in Brockport, and I saw people shipping the big trunks and everything out. And I says, man, and it was myself and a couple of other guys. I says, here, what if we can take them, as opposed to them shipping them? They can pay us, and we can rent a U-Haul, and they pay us, and we drive all the stuff down in New York back to New York City, and we can make the money, as opposed to like a UPS or something like that. And that was my route into entrepreneurship. But little did I know, I forgot the main important thing, which was gas cost. Right? Knowing that U-Haul was not, it wasn't where you can rent and is all inclusive. Yeah, they only give you a certain amount of miles. So from
Yeah.
Brockport to New York City, plus delivering all these things, right? So that cut into our costs, because we had to buy gas and then pay for the mileage. And the other thing that I forgot was, in New York City, some buildings didn't have working elevators. So guess what? We had to lift all those things up flights of stairs. It's like,
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think, yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say is that you lost your shirt.
That was one way. Yes, I lost my shirt. One way of going into it in terms of losing my shirt. I lost my shirt another way, but that's another story. But when we talk about navigating the entrepreneur world together, again, we have two separate companies, but they're pretty close. Let's talk about our decision-making process, right? Because when I was thinking about starting my business, of course, as a married couple, I couldn't just do it on my own, because I had to consider now Stephanie. If I was single, I could do it on my own. But starting out, I had to talk with you. I prayed on it first. Then, of course, I had to involve you before I did anything, right? So that was part of the decision process for me. And what did you say back then, back in 2010?
Yeah, what I recall saying was based upon the story that you just shared with the viewers, right? That I remember you telling me that you had shared with your mom, my mother-in-law, at the age of 16, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur. You never really wanted to spend a significant amount of time working for anybody else. And when you brought the idea to me, I said to you, you have made millions for other companies. I think
Mhm.
you should take the leap and work for us, right?
Right.
And so, I think the key part too, Pat, that we really should share is the fact that we had that conversation probably in about October, November-ish of 2010. And I was working full time still,
Mhm.
but had began to launch the practice and the consulting firm in August of 2010. And then I left my full-time job as a result of just struggling in the workplace and wanting to do something different. When I looked back at the time frame, I left there October 30th of 2010 and went full time November 1st of 2010. And you launched the Jackman Group in December of 2010 and went live in January of 2011. If that's not a faith walk and a faith leap and jump, I don't know what is.
But and going back to that, Steph, I think we missed a couple of things there too, because we got married in July 31st of 2010.
Yeah,
You launched your business in October, as you said, right?
yeah,
Right. And then I was downsized also in October of
yes,
2010. So you
yes,
launched your business in October, and I was downsized in October, but
yes,
started a business in December. so,
yes, yes.
so wow. So tell
Wow
our
is right.
viewers, yeah, wow. Tell our viewers, because people don't understand, and you know this, as far as we both get the question was from people, well, how do you start a business? How do you do it together? How do you work together? How do you communicate with each other? But launching two businesses or starting two businesses in the same year, and I tell folks there are two things that you want to look at. The questions that I ask are, where's your level of faith, right? And who's your source? That's the most important thing. But I also ask them, where's your prayer life?
Yes.
Because for us, God is our source. We pray before we do anything. And it was a faith walk going out on two businesses at the same time.
And Pat, if I could just say, if you do not have a prayer life and you do not have faith, if you are looking to start a business or become couplepreneurs, you will quickly begin to have a prayer life and begin to increase your faith. These last 14 years for myself, I'm speaking personally, it has definitely tested my faith as well as increased my faith. And it has also increased my prayer life and my relationship with Christ, as well as it has improved our relationship and
Mm-hmm.
our marriage. It didn't.
Absolutely.
It hasn't had any other choice, in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't have a choice of going back, right? We came across the bridge, and behind the bridge, we just blew up the bridge. So we can't go back and say that, hey, unless God says it's time that we go back into the workforce. But I don't think that he will, because he birthed both businesses into us. So what he started, right, he's going to see to the end.
Yeah.
So, but it's amazing, the journey, because people think that you're just going to open up a business, launch a business, and you're going to become wealthy. That's not true. Well, some people do. That's not our story. The majority of
No.
people don't. Right. Before I do that, I love this title, Couplepreneurs. I don't know where we got it from. We were talking about it on last night. Couplepreneurs, people, two entrepreneurs as a couple, for us as husband and wife, navigating the landscape of entrepreneurship. But anyhow, yeah. So we don't have that. We don't have that bridge to cross over again, and we certainly don't have any wealthy trust funds.
No.
We wish
No.
that we had a trust fund, right? That we were trust funds babies or adults, but that's not our story.
No. 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 Yeah. So I think it's also important to share with our listeners, as you stated, that as couplepreneurs, and when we're talking about faith and navigating this world together, it is key and critical to understand that you have to have your spouse on board in this process. If one of your spouses is not ready, then it's not time. It is not time. So it's key and critical that both spouses are on board with this journey, because you are going to have some lean seasons, and you are also going to experience some seasons of overflow. But as I tell young entrepreneurs all the time, you will work harder for yourself than you've worked for any other company or any other organization in your professional life.
Yeah.
That's just the
And,
reality.
and we're not saying that uh, a couple can't be successful
Right.
without talking to each other. Of course, we've seen examples of that where a husband or a wife is successful. They started a business and they're successful without having the input and insight with each other or talking to each other. We've seen that, right? But we're talking now about it's our story, and we hope to inspire and ignite thought. That's our goal, to inspire others to work together, whether they have two separate businesses or they're in business together. But our goal here is really to um, start a conversation with people, with couples that desire to work together as entrepreneurs, whether one business or multiple businesses. So let's talk about some of the roles. Well, let's take a step back. Let's talk about some of the challenges that that we have gone through, because people probably look and see on the outside, oh, you guys have it easy. And someone said to us, you just make it look so easy. But in essence, it hasn't been always easy. It's been a challenge for some of the times, right? Which allows us to really grow spiritually. So let's talk about some of the challenges.
So I would say, again, full transparency, my biggest challenge, um, 13, 14 years ago, my biggest challenge, and I'm not really sure, Pat, if you even know this, my biggest
Oh
challenge
boy,
was,
here we go. Here we
yeah,
go. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. My biggest challenge was not having the guarantee
Okay.
of a paycheck coming, a steady paycheck of you knew what the amount was going to be biweekly.
Yeah.
That was my first honestly and truthfully, that was my first fear.
Okay.
13, 14 years ago, that there was not going to be consistent paycheck coming in our household.
And that's a good fear, right? Because when starting out a business, you're putting the money into the business, and you may not be getting anything back. And like us, we started businesses around the same time, so we didn't have anything that was coming in. We had to invest in the money that we had saved, and we were blessed enough that we had a great group of people around us, not giving us anything, but helping us along the way in terms of building a business. But yeah, that's a valid fear. Um, and some of our viewers and listeners out there, they may be going through the same thing. Well, I want to start a business. I'm called to start a business. Uh, I'm an entrepreneur, but sometimes the other spouse doesn't see it, and that's real, because one spouse, for us, I'm more of the risk taker.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed. Oh, yeah.
And Steph is more of the cautious one. Those of you that have been in our training know what the SDI is, the strength deployment inventory. I'm more of the red. Steph is more of the green, as she's wearing green, right? So she's more of the processor. She has to know everything beforehand. So she's more the cautious one. For me now, as the red, I'm focused on results. I just want to go. Let's go get it done. We can clean it up after. So that is a dynamic within itself in our household, because I will take risks. And Steph is like, well, tell me more about this. So let's talk about that, because that's a challenge, right? That can be a challenge if you don't understand each other.
Yeah. I think, as anything in marriage and in business, we have learned how to, navigate that over time. You have learned how to navigate that with me over time.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of things that I would say in regards to that is being prepared to give me more detail. Also, timing is really key. I know you know that for me,
Oh yeah.
in terms of when, say that again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the timing is really key,
Oh.
in terms of when you're rolling different endeavors and thoughts out. But one thing that I would say is, in our marriage, even though Pat is a risk taker, he has never done anything that I did not feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
He has never taken risks and ventures in which I have not felt comfortable with. And for that, I am truly thankful and grateful. And so the timing is key. The details in which he shares with me has been really key as well.
Yeah, because I'm the type. There's a room in our house. I go in, and I'm quick to come out and say, "Hey, Steph, here's what Holy Spirit give me."
And that can be daily, ladies and gentlemen. He can come out with something daily. He's coming out with revelation daily.
So when we talk about navigating the entrepreneurial world together, that's one thing, right? Because I'm always, Holy Spirit is always speaking to me. And whether it's on the business side or on the spiritual side, wherever it is. So Steph bears the brunt, well, not the brunt, but she's learned how to navigate that and try to get more information. And it's part of communication, which allows me now to really process it and says, okay, Lord, I know you've given it to me. Is it the right time? And sometimes it's not the right time, because for me, I would jump on it in a minute, but it has to be the right time.
And the other piece that I would say is particularly for those of us, for us wives, is um, be careful that we're not overshadowing our husband's dreams. So I'm not quick to jump on something and say, well, no, I don't think that this is time, or I don't think that that's a good idea. I will listen to the information first and take it all in. And I'll say something to him like, well, let me think about it. Let me pray about it. Let me get back to you on that. But we want to be really careful as wives, or as husbands,
Mhm.
that we're not overshadowing and just shutting down our spouse's dreams and visions as soon as it, leaves their, as soon as it hits our ears and leaves their mouths, right?
And I'm glad that you says not just wives but husbands, because um, we've been together with business partners and others that are where the wives is the risk taker and the husbands are the more cautious one. So we've seen it on both sides. So whether it's a spouse where the husband is the risk taker or the wife is the risk taker, uh, just communicate. So Steph, we are up against the clock here. I think we're going to have to do a part two. And what I want to do in part two, I want to talk about some of the roles and responsibilities, because you play a role in my business, in our business, and I play a role in your business, not just from a strategic standpoint, but an actual role in helping each other drive our businesses forward. Because I always want to run things by you to get your insight, because you have great insight, and you as a woman of faith, as a praying wife, you run it through and get your revelation. So that's good. And then I want to talk about not just roles and responsibilities in part two, talking about how do we share strategies, what's our method of communication, so that we can help our other couplepreneurs out there. And also, how do we maintain a healthy work-life balance? Because we work hard, right? We both work hard, um, hours and hours a day, but we also take time out to play hard. And we want to talk about that. We don't do anything on Sundays, because for us, Sunday is a Sabbath day, right? So we don't do anything. We go to church. We may go get something to eat, but when it comes to business during the day, we don't do anything. Then we do it after. So I want to talk about that, expand upon that, and then also want to talk about how do we, or how have we overcome the challenges or managed the challenges that we've had in the past, and then talk about where do we see ourselves going business wise in the future. What do you think about that?
Well, that is a lot to talk about, Pat.
But that's why it's a part two and maybe a part three. So, viewers, if you want to hear some of those things from a part two, make sure that you drop it in the chat. You can also send us an email, info@jackmangroup.llc.com. You can send me an email there, so that we can hear more as to what you would like to hear for us to talk about. And we're going to do a little bit more of this. So our part two will be coming not next week, but in a couple of weeks, we'll do our part two. If you're watching from YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the 30 at the 30 with Patrick. Subscribe to that channel and hit the notification bell, so that when we're on again, or whenever the 30's on, you'll be notified. And then we will. So next week I have a special guest, and she'll be talking about DEI. And then you and I, Steph, will come back in a couple of weeks and continue a part two and maybe a part three. How about that?
I would be honored. It's always an honor to be a guest on the 30.
Now, before we leave, I know that you launch your YouTube channel this year. Do you want to give our viewers that channel, and then what are you covering? What do you have coming up?
Yes, thanks. So My YouTube channel is called Your Best Unleashed. Make sure you go over. It is Stephanie Jackman LCSW, all one word. And Your Best Unleashed was actually inspired by Pat and the 30. So thank you for that. Your
You're welcome.
Best Unleashed, again, it's an educational and informational channel where we just want individuals to be able to be their best spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. So we give you information about some life challenges and everyday life obstacles and how to give you practical tips to overcome those areas so that you can be your best. So make sure that you head over to Stephanie Jackman LCSW and subscribe to my channel. And as Pat stated, hit the notification button. And we're on at 11 Eastern Standard Time.
That's 11 a.m. every other Tuesday, right?
Yes.
So the next one will be coming up, and let's see, when is that? You just did one on Tuesday, so the next one would be June 4th. Let's see if you
Yep,
want
we
to
just
see.
wrapped up our
Yeah.
series. Yeah, we just
Or
wrapped
you
up
can
our
go
series
back
on
to
women's health.
Steph's channel, and you can see all the episodes there. I think there are 6 or 7 up there. So you can go to her channel and see all of them there in replay, or you can see it live. Next one is live on June 4th. What's the topic on the next one, Steph?
Oh, you have to tune in to see.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yes, you have to tune in. So we just wrapped up our series on women's health for the month of May. May was Women's Health Month and Mental Health Awareness Month. So we have some special things in store for you for June.
I think, is June Men's Health Month?
It is.
I
It
think you should
is.
do something on Men's Health Month. I'm just saying, just giving you
Okay.
some ideas from a
Well,
strategic
thank you.
standpoint.
Yes.
I'm an unpaid strategist, folks.
Yes. And you are great at it.
Unpaid for Stephanie Jackman LCSW, but for others, not unpaid. From a strategy standpoint, you will have to we'll have to come up with an investment, right, in you. All right, Steph, that's about it. We are a little bit over. I want to thank you for being my life partner, my wife, and also my business partner. So, life partner, business partner, and my strategist, and the wise one, the better one.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you much. Thanks.
Love you too. We will see you on next week, next Thursday. Make sure that you join us then. Share this broadcast, like it, share it, and also repost it. If you are on LinkedIn, repost. If you're watching it from YouTube, make sure you like and share it. We will greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to our channels, both myself and Steph. So that's about it. We want to thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Have a fantastic one. Be safe out there. And our prayer is that our Lord will continue to bless you and your family. And we will chat with you soon. Goodbye for now.